Okay, looking at week 14 math review sheet. We're going to go over the questions 1 through 5 on this video. And we will start with number 1. It says Carrie started with the number 5. She multiplies it by 4, added 4, and then divided by 2. Her ending number was 12. Write an equation to show what she did. Alright, so I'm going to just kind of put this off to the side so I can continue to look at it as I work through this problem. Okay, so it says that Carrie started with the number 5. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is start with the number 5. Okay, it says she multiplies it by 4. Okay, so I'm going to multiply by 4. Then added 4. And then divided by 2. Okay? And it says her answer was 12. Okay, so if I leave this problem like this, it's going to be wrong. Because I have to follow an order of operations, and that's, parentheses, exponent, multiplication or division, addition or subtraction. But the problem tells us to do certain things. They told us to start with 5, which we did. They told us to multiply it by 4. They tell us then to add 4. And then they say to divide by 2. So if I'm doing my order of operations, that divide by 2 isn't going to be last. So what I need to do is put in my parentheses, so I do that first part of the problem first. Okay, so what I would do is put my parentheses here, because it said I start with 5, I multiply by 4, then I add 4. And then I multiply by 2. So I'm going to put my parentheses here. Okay? And that is my answer. Okay? So you don't have to solve it, but this is how we would set it up. We would multiply our 5 times 4, then we would add our 4, and then once we get that, we would then figure out the next step, and then we would divide it all by 2, and then that would give us the number 12. Okay, so that's number 1. Let's look at number 2. Okay, this one's a pretty simple one. It says write a numerical expression for the following. Add 12 and 8, then divide by 3. So add 12 and 8, then divide by 3. So again, the important thing here is what we did in the last problem, is we're going to have to put parentheses in the problem. Because we can do this. It says to add 12 and 8. Okay, so I know I'm going to add 12 plus 8. It says then divide by 3. Okay, but if I left this problem set up like this, based on order of operations, I would have to divide first, because I have to divide before I add. But that's not what the problem is asking us to do. It's telling us to add 12 and 8. So in order for us to do that first, we need those parentheses. Okay, so I can add 12 and 8, then I can divide that by 3. Okay, that's number 2. Don't forget the parentheses. Number 12 on the back is going to be very similar, so don't make a silly mistake. Remember the parentheses. All right, number 3. It says Sammy rounded 9 76 thousandths to 9 8 hundredths. What place value did he round to? Okay, so this one's very simple. So we should know that if he started with 9 76 thousandths, because I have tenths, hundredths, thousandths, and he rounded that to 9 8 hundredths, and I can tell what he rounded to because my last digit is right here. And since that 8 is in the hundredths place, I know that he rounded to the hundredths. Okay, so whatever my last place value is, that's what he rounded to. So he rounded to the hundredths. Okay, so number 13 is going to be similar. So just remember, whatever Whatever the last digit is, after rounding, that's what he rounded to. Okay? And we can just check that because, obviously he was rounding this number. He looked to the 6. 6 told him to increase that by 1, which is how we got 9 8/100. All right, that's number 3. Let's look at number 4. All right, it says find the missing digit. And we have 4,654,300 something 2. And it says that's less than 4,654,312. So let's look at this. So again, we're just kind of comparing place values in this problem. Okay, we're comparing place values. Okay, so I know the answer. The answer is already given to me. The answer, they tell me that this number right here is less than this number right here. So this number here is less. So I need to compare numbers. So when I'm comparing, I always start for the numbers furthest to my left. So I have a 4 here and a 4 here in the millions place. Those are the same. So I will go to the 100,000s place. I have a 6 here. I have a 6 here. Okay, same. So I'll go to the 10,000s. 5 and 5. Same thing. I will go to the thousands place. I have a 4 and I have a 4. Same. I'll go to the hundreds place now. I have a 3 here and I have a 3 in the hundreds place here. Now, here's where it changes. This, I don't know what it is. This is a 1. I know this number has to be bigger than this number. Okay, because this tells me right here that this number over to the left is less than this number. So if this is a 1, if that's a 1 right there, this number right here has to be smaller than a 1. So based on that, I know that this number has to be 0. Okay? So just comparing the numbers, once I get here, I saw that this is a 1. I know this has to be smaller. It's a 0. 1 is the only number smaller than 1 is 0, and then the 2's were the same in the 1's place. Okay? So the missing number was 0. And the last one for this 1 through 5, it says round the fraction to 0, a half, or 1. Okay, we can do this a couple different ways. I chose to put it on the number line. We could have drew a picture. It's the same thing. So again, I'm rounding 8/15 to either 0. Is it closer to 0? Is it closer to a half? Or is it closer to 1? And what I did on the number line, I just made 0 here, and I made 15 here. So since this is out of 15, I know 15 parts equal a whole. Okay? So if I drew it on the number line, 0 to 15, my halfway point would be right here, between the 7 and the 8. That would be my halfway point. Okay? Now, I have to go to 8, because that's what my numerator tells me to do. 8's right here. Is that closer to 0? Is it closer to 1/2? Or is it closer to 1 whole, which would be the same thing as 15? Okay, because 15 out of 15 is 1 whole. Okay, so is it closer to 0, 1/2, or 1 whole? Okay, and that one you should be able to, just by looking at it, you should be able to determine which one it is closest to. Okay, that's numbers 1 through 5 on the first side of week 14.